All right, y'all. Welcome to Conscious Conversations, Melanated Edition with I Love You Black Women. I am Rah Kalon, your host, the emotional intelligence consultant, your inner child's fairy godparent, and your transformation coach. Excited to talk to you about not only emotional intelligence, but also how we can heal the Black disconnect. So we want to have a conversation with Black men, Black women, Black people, all inclusive, to find out what exactly would make us feel more affirmed, reassured, supported, and empowered amongst the connection of the genders so that we can, heal, elevate consciousness, expand it collectively. And that's the intention of Conscious Conversations. So to open us up, we have an icebreaker. We will be going through a quick icebreaker where we get a little deep, not too deep. You can express what you need to in your 45 seconds to the level of your comfort. But then we also, just to give your mind a little peace and know what's coming, we'll move into going over our conscious guidance. You probably saw the Instagram clip about it, and we did go over it the first time we met at Conscious Conversations Melanated Edition, but it's good to go over it again for reminders and for new people to know how we engage in the space. And then also we will then go into the discussion. So as you see underneath this little line in the middle on the screen here, that we will be talking about leveraging our collective strengths as Black people, instead of using each other, utilizing each other, and how we can do that in ways that affirm one another and not stereotype one another. And then also, how do we empower our growth points for each other? Instead of hitting each other where it hurts and targeting our weaknesses, how can we empower one another's growth points? And then if we have time, I'd love to talk about codependency versus co-commitment in Black relationships. But that's all three big topics, so we'll see what we can fit in. But as you get questions that you'd like to discuss amongst this conversation, DM me directly as the host, Rah Kalon host, so that we can talk about these topics. And when we get into the discussion, I'll direct you as to how to engage and how we'll get chosen as to who speaks when, okay? So I'll give you just another moment. I'm gonna play a little jam, give you like 2 minutes to think about your answers to the questions, and then we will get started.
Ooh, Lord, okay, so nope, I'm not in my speaker. I'm sitting in my truck. The music then jumped on and everything. I'm so glad to see y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so good
I'm
to see
Right
all
finna,
back
of
I'm
you.
at
finna
you.
mute back. I'm just a mute.
All right, y'all. So I want to go ahead and get us kicked off. For those who have just hopped on or joined, welcome to Conscious Conversations Melanated Edition, virtual Melanated Edition. This is definitely not going to be the last time we talk about this, but it is good to have it be the second time we're talking about this and to have an ongoing conversation into
Yes,
2023.
yes.
I am your emotional intelligence consultant, Rah Kalon, and we're going to start off with our icebreaker, which is, what age did you most struggle in your Blackness? And at what age did you struggle most with the opposite and or other genders? So I'll start us off, and then I will pick someone, and then that person will share as much as they'd like to for their seconds, and then they'll pick someone and we'll go like that, okay? So at what age did I most struggle? I would say that I most struggled with my Blackness maybe around age 12 to 14, and middle school, 6th grade time period, always hard, always awkward, very emo, but also wanted to always twerk a cheek, always wanted to twerk something. So was working on duality and balance in that Blackness. And then for the gender, opposite gender or just other genders, I would say probably a year or two ago is when I struggled most with men and masculine presenting people, just because I feel like there was a disconnect. I didn't know how to relate, how to feel related to. And yeah, so that's what I felt probably was the most difficult. And now I don't feel it as strong. I feel like I've gotten into a flow in my femininity and my masculinity, so I can meet more people and attract more people and flow like that. So those are my answers to the icebreakers. I would love to hear from Miss Gia. What are your responses to our icebreaker?
Okay, I had to get back to it. I think growing up, I didn't struggle with my Blackness really until I started working at Chrysler for real. Because I grew up in the Black community. I went to a school that was 99.9% all Black. When I started working at Chrysler, it was probably 90% white, and we were the other. And it was just very hard to be a worker and to go into establishment where even though you worked, they still made you seem like you were nothing.
Yeah.
Um, what was the other one?
And then at what age did you struggle most with the opposite and or other genders?
Oh, I say with that happened because I was a teenage mom. So back then, I would say probably 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
Um, because and it's funny that you say that because I've just been coming to a lot of realization of myself. And I love my dad with the utmost respect, but I had to do work and basically realize that I never had a good male role model to give me the example of what I wanted in
Yeah.
the future. So yeah, it started like real young.
Yeah.
Like and I could say I had Aria when I was 14, finna turn 15. So I would say probably around 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's real. Oh, and you articulated that so beautifully, and it is so easy to relate to and understand. And I just recently read something about how your relationship with the divine masculine in your early years, 7 and under, very much molds what you expect and what you
Right,
even think to look for in adulthood and
right.
intimacy. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Because I looked at it to, like I said, I'm doing a lot of work now, and I realized that I have abandonment issues when it comes to the male role model,
hmm,
because for the simple fact, all the males in my life, my dad, my grandfather, that should have been like my example, they left.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And so people don't realize how that affects you. And I didn't realize how it affect me until now. But yeah. So yeah, around that age, because that's when I was seeking and searching and looking but yeah.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Good share. Good share. Thank you. Who do you want to pick, Miss Gia? Who do you want to go next?
uh Dewana, my sister, she in here.
Come on.
Hey DJ, love you.
Hey, Dee Dee, I love you.
Well, she picked you to go next, Mr. Warner. So give it to us. What were your answers for the icebreakers?
I kind of missed. Oh, my camera's not on. Let me see.
You want me to read them to you?
I don't see myself. Do
We
you guys
see.
I
see?
see you,
Yeah,
beautiful.
we see that
Okay.
face.
I missed the icebreaker question. I'm also in the kitchen frying some chicken.
Come on.
But what were
You
the
want me to
questions?
read it to you?
Sure.
Okay. So the first question is, what age did you most struggle in your Blackness? And the second question is, at what age did you struggle most with the opposite sex?
Ooh. Okay. Well, struggling with my Blackness, I guess during school, although I went to an all Black high school, and but I guess I wasn't looked at as being Black. I never was approached with any negativity about my skin color, but I personally, I think during my childhood, because I was in the house with my grandparents, and although we were around Black people and Black relatives, I couldn't make the connect. You know, I couldn't really connect. And by looking in the mirror at myself, and even to this day, people really don't see me as being African American or of African descent. You know, even though our Hispanic and Spanish speaking brothers and sisters are of African descent, we they don't see me as all Black.
Yeah.
You know, even though my mom is very dark, my dad was fair. So I guess I still am working on that. I guess I can't say that I got over that, although I
Hey.
come into myself. You know, I
Yeah.
know what I am.
And it's an evolution, developing our awareness and acceptance of that Blackness. But that's an excellent level of vulnerability. And how about what age did you struggle most with the opposite and or other genders?
Um, I guess even though, like I said, I was in the home with my grandparents and my grandpa was there, but it wasn't like he was there because he was, you know, working. So I had that absence just like Gia did, you know, even though I was in the same household with him, he was a strong disciplinary. And my grandma pretty much was the caregiver in the household, even though he was there.
Yeah.
So, and so as coming into my adulthood, I struggled with the men looking for that bond, I guess, or that person to fill that void and just didn't, you know, pick the wrong niggas. I excuse my French. I just did pick the wrong
No,
ninja.
that's what it is.
I guess politically correct ninjas. So hey Aria.
Yeah.
Is she in there? I see Fallon. That's not Aria.
No, that's my mom.
Oh, she got Fallon.
You got Fallon up here.
Oh, I didn't know you were on there. Did I answer all the questions?
You did. You
All
did.
right.
And beautifully.
Thank you.
Now, do you see who else is on? Who do you want to pick to go next? You want to pick Tiaja? You want to pick Tasty? You want to pick, and Apache, if you want to answer in the chat box, I can share or read your answer for others.
Pick Pops, Dewana.
Who is Pops?
Tommy.
Rah Kalon dad.
Oh, okay. Come on with
here.
Pops.
Come on with it, Tommy.
Hey, why am I getting volunteered?
Because you haven't gone yet.
Oh, okay, that's a good reason. Okay, so what about? Let me say this first. I love being with you ladies. I love the honesty. I love the straightforwardness. Please keep it up throughout the conversation. Please keep it up throughout your life. I mean, I think that's a definite need between Black men and women, between any couple, in this day and time especially. Okay, so at what age were I most struggled? It was probably around 10, 11, 9, 10 years old. I'm very dark complected. Kids at that age, especially at that time, I mean, that many years ago, kids were very, very cruel in pointing out how dark I am, and they um, it, um, all the little names Sambo and I can't think of any others right now. And this was before James Brown came out with his song. I say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. It wasn't. I mean, the atmosphere, the vibe in that day and time did not allow you to feel proud of being black. And then there emerged a time period when that began to be the case. And I, for one, was very happy about that. And then at what age did you struggle with the opposite sex? Yesterday. Are y'all even? Can you? Okay. Yeah. Well, and outside of just yesterday, we
I
have.
did that soon. I'm sorry.
Outside of yesterday, I'll take it back to Earlene Ladd in 7th grade, who began my great distrust in all women for the rest of my life. So there, you got it. And hopefully that's not the case for the rest of my life. I mean, it's just that was probably what began it all.
He's so self-aware now, everyone. Like, I tell him all the time how much admiration I have for how he literally began to unpack where certain parts and fragments came from. I love him so much. Who do you want to pick, Daddy? Who do you want to go next?
Tiaja. Did you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I struggled with my blackness. I struggled with my blackness starting since I moved to Texas, really. And that was like, I don't know what, 18, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Not till now, but since I moved to Texas up until high school, because I went to all white schools from when I got here all the way up until high school. High school is when I went to a predominantly black Mexican school, and I felt more like at home, or more around my people. And from the longest before high school up in, from elementary up until high school, I didn't really care for my blackness. I didn't care for black people. What I was taught hanging around black people, hanging around white people, let's say that, is to hate myself, about, oh man, I don't want to hang with that black girl, or because of this and that and that, I don't want to, or, I would go over the house and then, their grandparents and things like that will make racial slurs, and it's just like, you're just supposed to just laugh at this and just accept it. So I struggled with my blackness and accepting of my blackness and loving my blackness up until I got to high school. Everything else was just like, I don't want nothing to do with my race.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was about. When did I get here? I got here when I was like 8, 9 to Texas. But moving forward, struggling with the opposite of sex, I feel like I still do, like, to this day. Like I'm with him, like, because it's just like, I don't really know. I've falsely connected with the male, with men all my life, like, because I grew up around with mostly my brothers. So I'm very like and tapped in with my masculinity. But now, is it healthy masculinity? I don't know about that. But of its entirety, I grew up with a boy. So it was just like, I just became one. It was just like, I didn't hang around girls until I got to probably college. And it was just like, what I mean by falsely connecting with men is like, I just became one. I wasn't really a woman when I was around men. It was just like, I don't know how to be a woman around men, because when I growing up with my brothers, I had to dissect my femininity in order for them to be of accepting of me. So I
Yeah.
couldn't be me.
You had to explain yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. So I still struggle. I mean, there's always like men like, oh man, I want to hang out. And then it'd be that kicker where it'd be like, I was really liking you. Like, nah, bro, like I already told you,
No,
I'm
we ain't trying to
predominant.
cross over there.
Right. And it's like when I set that boundary, I get ghosted. And it's just like, well, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And it kind of just continues on with that disconnect where it's just like, well, it seems like they only want this one thing from me. So there's no need to connect. But I desire to connect.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really want a platonic like homeboy.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I also have to check myself when I find myself, what do you call it? Code switching, like in becoming a man, instead of just like, it's okay to be your feminine side when you're around a man.
Yes.
But that's a whole, like, well, my mom, I haven't had any good male role models growing up. So it was just like, after a while, it was just like, do I really even need them?
Yeah.
So.
You start to adapt to what you
And
had to do without. And so now it's like, how do I hold space for the quirks that will come with letting you back in?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so real. Oh, everything you said is so real. And I think what you're speaking to relates deeply to why a lot of us show up as women in our divine masculine, just because of that root chakra, that need for stability, that need for feeling secure, and having either been in situations where we felt abandoned or betrayed or disconnected or misunderstood or silenced by our male counterparts. So we couldn't be soft, we couldn't submit, we couldn't surrender, those things that would help the ebb and flow between us, because we had to get it done, or at least we felt that way through living through our ego. So what you said is just really relatable. Yeah. Who do you want to pick to go next? Oh, Ms. Gia.
I was just saying, we got some new people added and some gentlemen that I am so thankful for. So I just wanted to say that.
No, that's the perfect thing. That is exactly what we do when we have new people. Welcome, Awakened King 777. Would you like to introduce yourself? And no pressure if you don't want to, but we're excited to have you. Oh, did we lose him?
I see you, but I can't hear you.
Hey, what's going on?
Okay. There you go. It's good to see you, man. What's your name?
I'm Jason.
Jason, I remember meeting you. It's good to see you, brother.
Good to see y'all too.
Good. Well, we are right now opening up with our icebreaker. And as you can see with the shared screen, these are going to be our topics of discussion this evening when we get into talking. So if you have questions around leveraging our collective strengths as Black people, empowering our growth points, and then also codependency versus co-commitment, DM me privately and we'll use those questions during the discussion. But right now we're picking individuals to answer the question, what age did you most struggle in your Blackness? And then what age did you most struggle with the opposite sex or the opposite gender? So please feel free to hop in if you have answers, okay?
Okay, all right, so the first question, you said, what age did I struggle with my Blackness, right?
Yeah, most. What age did you struggle most with your Blackness?
I would say in high school. Because in high school, I was about to say, I actually remember a lot of like Caucasian Hispanics. So it was a little different for me because, I know my parents, they was trying to make sure that I was in a good community and stuff. They came from the country, they're from Nacogdoches out there in East Texas. So, they moved to Austin, and I was born and raised in Austin. So, they just want to make sure they gave me a good lifestyle where I could kind of be around, every type of race. So it wasn't until, whenever I got into college, whenever things kind of changed for me, where I was like, okay, around a lot more of my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So, getting to understand my culture was, it was like a complete new experience for me. And, it was one of those things where I had to sit back and observe. So I used to be very introverted, being around, my culture and trying to see, okay, let's see how my people move. You know what I'm saying? Let me see how things are the way I choose to understand. And, I guess, once I transferred to junior college and I went to university, I got to be around not only my culture more, but other cultures, so I kind of just see how everyone interacts. And I think that's where my growth kind of changed because I could kind of understand not only, I guess, the barrier, for a Black man as well as a Black woman, but just how they kind of fit in society and how they try to just gel.
Yeah.
My lifestyle, I guess it was just a little different for me because I had to just kind of adapt on the go. First off, being a dark skinned brother, that's right off that right there, it's already different from being a light skinned brother coming into a community where I'm around a lot of Caucasians. So they automatically put me in a separate category already, alone. But I just kind of learned how to I guess, be my authentic self. They kind of forced me out of myself. So that's the one thing I can say that I'm grateful for. I think about our culture in general. I feel like we always try to fit into a category sometimes. And, really it's not even about a category in general, but more so just being our authentic self. Because at the end of the day, energy never lies. So as long as your energy is authentic, people are going to always resonate with you no matter the culture. So I would say that at first I used to be upset. I was like, man, I want to go to Pflugerville. Pflugerville is the other side of kind of Austin. I went to the end of high school. I was like, yeah, I want to be around my brothers and sisters. I'm around all these white folks, so it was a little different. But then once I got a little bit older and I got more mature with myself, started to understand myself, I realized my parents were trying to let me see, hey, as long as you are your authentic self, other people will recognize that. I know they're not the whole energy base of understanding energy, but I feel like God led me to understand, hey, there's an energy behind who you are. So once you recognize who you are, you'll be just fine. So that's something that I would say, for my brothers and sisters, we always have to make sure that we are our authentic selves and we'll be just fine.
Come on, Jason, giving us a word, because that's exactly it. And even you talking about from being introduced to other cultures a lot earlier than really getting engrossed in our culture, it's looking for mirrors in one another, looking for mirrors in each other's faces, and energy doesn't lie. So finding those connections, finding that tribe, and really seeing how one another move, not just in the Black race and culture, but especially in our culture and in the connection we're rebuilding between Black men and women. So dope shit, dude, dope shit. All right, y'all. So who would you like to pick? So far, we still have Tasty who can go, Essence, Shay. What's up, Hazani? Good to have you. And Janisha. Any pickers? I'm asking you, Jason. You get to pick who goes next. No worries. No worries. So you can pick from Essence, Shay, Donnell, which is Janisha, and Hazani, who have not gone yet, and Apache. Feel free to put your answer in the chat box if you can't speak freely.
Okay, and what am I asking them?
You're picking a person to go and answer the same questions next.
Okay, let's see here. I'm only looking at who I have on my screen. Let's see here. Is Shay in the building?
Yeah, Shay, what's up?
What's good, Shay?
Hello. Hi. Wait, can you guys see me?
Not yet.
I can't see.
Shay.
Hey, Tasty. Hold on. Let's see.
Hey,
I'm trying to fix this thing. Why can I not see myself? So I don't know if
we can see you.
Okay.
So do you see the question for the icebreaker? You want me to read it to you?
Yes, read it to me.
All right, so 45 seconds to answer. What age, it's two questions, it's a two-parter. What age did you most struggle in your Blackness? And at what age did you most struggle with the opposite gender or other genders?
Ooh, okay, I'm going to choose. Wait, I have to choose between the two?
I mean, you can
Or
try to
both?
answer both. Just, be concise.
All right. Okay. So I would probably say maybe 15 because I was really accepting the fact of my sexuality. So I really began to struggle there. So I'm so horrible at answering questions. I'm sorry.
You're doing beautifully. You
Because
make so much
I
sense.
get
Please keep
I
going.
really get nervous, and it's just like being of color is not really accepted. So it's like I'm coming in tune with my true being and trying to be in tune with who I am. But here I am, I have these external factors and my family and everyone like, you can't be gay. So it's just like, do I start hating myself? I'm just learning to love who I am. So it kind of put me into this box that I didn't want to be in.
Yeah.
I wanted to love me, but in order to love me, I was really taught I couldn't love myself.
Yeah. That's real shit.
So it was very conflicting. It was very conflicting. It's like I want the people, if people say they love me, I want you to know the real me.
Yeah.
So it's like I couldn't be myself because you don't love that me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
That conditional love, man. It's a kicker.
Man,
A
it
whopper.
is. It really is.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Shay. You articulated how you felt wonderfully. Who would you like to pick to go next?
Okay, let's see. Who haven't went?
Tasty, Essence, Hassani. I think that would be it.
I think for sure, definitely Tasty. I want to hear what you got to say, Taste.
Yes.
Okay, so hi you guys, I'm Tasty for those who have not met me. The first question with the Blackness, when did I most struggle? I have two answers because I most struggled in a Black community and I also most struggled in a white community as well, being Black. So second grade, and so I guess around the age of 7 or 8 is when I most struggled being Black because I'm chocolate. I'm a dark-skinned woman, and that wasn't really okay for a woman to be dark-skinned. It wasn't really accepted. So I guess I kind of struggle with men too, just being a chocolate woman. As a woman, I struggled as a woman being a chocolate woman, and I connect to what Tiaja was saying about. I had a lot of guy friends because I was one of the guys. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't, and then the second time, so my first time, I say 7 or 8, simply because in the media world, you saw a lot of fair-skinned people, and then just being chocolate, and dark-skinned, people would make fun of me because of that. And the second time is when I went to college, it made me hate my people. I was an Oreo. I listened to pop, I listened to rock, I listened to things that, Black people would call weird. I loved anime, yes. So I was always different from the people in my community. And so it just made me feel like I wasn't Black enough to I didn't have rhythm back then. Oh my God, y'all. I just wasn't getting it. I'm not even gonna cap. And so I did kind of I was pushed away from my people, and I didn't really like my people like that until I went to a PWI in Fayetteville, which is I'm from Arkansas. And PWI is predominantly white institute. And they have to have a certain amount of people of ethnicity there. So they gave them scholarships. I was one of the people who was chosen for a scholarship there. And that was my first time experiencing, I guess, what my father would always talk about, because I always gravitated to white people when I was younger. And my pops would just try to tell me things about white people, I guess from his own experience growing up. And I'm like, that was during your time. That's not during our time. Things have changed, whatever, until I went to a predominantly white college. And I saw there, I would get followed by cops. I had drinks thrown at me. People tried to run me over. I never experienced being treated differently because I was Black, And so that right there honestly made me hate white people. And after a year or two of sitting with that hate, I was like, this isn't life. Like, it's not okay to hate. Like, it just doesn't feel good at all. So kind of like what Jay was talking about, that whole enlightenment thing, I learned to work through it, but it was difficult. And then as far as the opposite sex, I felt like I did connect with men pretty easily my entire life because I was raised by my pops, but it was as a masculine energy, kind of like what Tiaja was saying. I felt like he always wanted a son. So I was pretty much a tomboy. And I didn't start feeling like a huge disconnect into my early adult years. Like, I guess when men started to go through, what do you call that? Puberty? Okay,
Puberty,
yeah.
yeah.
Like, when they started like, men sexualize women. Like, I'm not saying all men, but most men do. And like what used to be like a real cool like friendship, like it started to like just always trying to make a move, like never really trying to like respect a woman just for a woman, or her voice just for her voice, or like it's always like, can I, have sex with you, or like, can I touch you, or so I feel like where I'm at now, I don't have a really good connection with men, with not awakened men, because actually I feel like my masculine energy is pretty healed. I do have men in my life who do respect me as a woman, but it's a really, really small amount. Like, I can count them on one hand. So yeah, that's my answer.
That's real tasty. Also relatable. Love it. And just so grateful for the opportunity to get to meet you as you have gotten to heal both your divine masculine and working on that divine femininity, and really also ushering other people into their spaces of acceptance as well. So it's dope to connect with you now. Who would you like to pick to go next?
I'm gonna pick Hassani.
What's up, Hassani? Can you speak with us?
Yes, I can. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Can y'all see me?
Hey.
Yeah, we can see.
Yes.
I can't
How you
see
doing?
me too. I'm looking.
He's like me. I'm like, wait, hold on. I can't see me, bro.
Right. But so it's funny that Tasty chose me because I actually went to school in Arkansas Pine Bluff. So when she was saying that, I'm like, what? I know where you went to school. But anyway.
Small world.
Yeah, for real. When did I have a time? I actually can relate to her upbringing all the way around because I grew up in a majority white environment. I'm from California, San Jose, California, Silicon Valley. So like in my elementary school, I was one of 5. In my middle school, I was one of, I don't know, 12, 20, something like that. So the population of us was really small. And then I went to an HBCU, and all of a sudden it was just us. But then people were like, I remember like it was yesterday. I go to school, and my first day of school, I get dropped off, and we're getting accepted. And one of the dudes from Florida was just mugging me, man. He was just mugging me, looking me up and down, mad. And then he was like, "What's up, nigga?" My bad. I don't know if we could talk about
No,
that.
definitely. This is the space to say all the things.
Oh, okay.
Come on, say all the things.
But basically he said, so his exact words was, "You gotta be gay, or there gotta be something wrong with you because you're too happy. I need to whoop your ass. You smiling too much." I said, "Wait a minute now. So you mad at me because I'm smiling? Like, I mean, if you want to fight, we can fight, but because I'm smiling,
I'm gonna fight you with a smile."
Right. And I was like, and I said, and even if I was, what made you think I was interested in you, brother? I mean, I hate to break it to you, but you an ugly dude, And so anyway, long story short, that was my introduction. I didn't think of it as a hard time. I just thought of it as part of the process, Y'all just made me think, because I'm hearing other people's stories. I was like, oh, I can relate to that. I just never thought of it in that perspective where it was a hard time. I just thought it was part of the process of what it was. Because even in high school, people would be like, "Oh, Sonny," for whatever reason, white folks and Mexicans used to be like, "Oh, I'm blacker than you." And I used to have to correct people and be like, "Tell me what black is." And, if you could tell me what it is, I'll accept it.
Yeah.
And, they describe what they see on TV, and I say that I'll excuse you for your ignorance. So I used to give people the word. I used to come back at people with my mouth real tough, talk about people mama and all kind of stuff. So I used to cause a lot of problems. So I guess you could say I did have hardships, but I dealt with them and I gave it back. So I caused hardships. So I didn't care.
Yeah. Yeah. You had the defense mechanism. You were able to keep them off of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I caused a lot of chaos. Now in reference to the other sex with females, I would say it was very noticeable very quick in elementary school and middle school that Black men weren't the choice. You know what I'm saying? In high school, so for a long time, I don't want to say I felt like, so I did feel ugly because I felt awkward in middle school, but I think everybody knows that feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I was awkward in middle school, but like in addition to being awkward, it was like I'm the last choice for people. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't like a guy that looks like me. Or if they did like Black men, they like the ones that was on TV, and I didn't match that. Because I too was into animation. So I'm learning about anime. I was big on Marvel. I was big on all that stuff. So give me a comic book, I'm there all day. Play me some video games, I'm there all day. So I represented that demographic, and it didn't match with what they saw on TV. So they were like, "Oh, I don't want you." Even the little bit of Black girls that we had available, they didn't want me. So I'm like, shoot. Well, I it is what it is then. And so then but that changed. That started to change in high school. That changed even more when I went to college. Because being around more of us, the standards change, or the status changes, if you will. And even to Tacey's point, where there might have been platonic friendships before, then they come into other friendships later.
Yeah.
Right.
Can't just keep it simple.
Yeah. So, but I too had to learn those boundaries, though, in all honesty. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't just the one where the boundaries were encroached upon. Like, even though they're encroached, even if I didn't want to, I didn't always know how to not do it.
Yeah. Yes.
And me being a man and the background that I had, I was a fraternity boy. I played sports, so it was expected of me to respond like that. So sometimes, and for some reason, folks just always felt comfortable calling me gay if I didn't like respond the way they didn't want me to. Like if I had some women come on to me and I'm like, nah, let's just chill, it's cool, I ain't trying to do nothing. Automatically, he's gay, start some rumors. And I'll just say this: I'm not gay. Never was. Right, but I just didn't understand what it looks like. I understand flamboyant men. I understand that. Don't get me wrong. I get that. But like, for someone to be looking at you and be like, "Oh, you must be gay," or just because I don't abide by what you think I should be doing, why do I have to be whatever that is? And so I would say, I know that's longer than 45 seconds, but that's the fastest way I could.
No, dude, like I'm so glad, we are so glad that you said all of what you said the way that you did, because it's relatable, because of being stereotype based off of how you're presenting, how your features are, how they have had life experiences with people who they are reminded of when they look at you. It ain't even got nothing to do with us. It's just projected on us, and it's conditioning. And it does make you start to be just kind of like side-eyeing folks about it. But I think when you're balanced in your masculine energy and you're balanced in your feminine energy, people who don't understand that balance and alignment are going to be fearful of what they don't know and project at it. So that's also
big facts. Big facts.
Yes.
Good shit, Hassani. All right. So, Essence, would you like to share, wrap up our icebreaker?
Hi, guys.
Hey, girl. Hey.
I'm trying to figure it out. Am I there? Oh, hi.
Yeah, we see
you. So I would say, to answer the Blackness, what did I struggle with, coming up?
For me, growing up in Mississippi, you would think that I had a lot of struggle, but I did not. I grew up in a town that was predominantly Black. Everybody knew everybody, very small. I went to a HBCU when I left high school, so didn't get to experience it until I left Mississippi and moved to Florida. And yeah, that's when things took a turn. I got to see who people really were. And got to experience a lot of different cultures. Being there, I never thought that, I was in my 20s in Florida, and I would never think that I would have experienced something like that. Just working at a call center and this white guy telling me, hey, you sound like a nigger, I don't want to give you my money, or that type of thing. Like, it was crazy. But just like little instances like that, I've literally got into a fist fight with a white lady before because she called me a nigger. I would say, yeah, in my 20s is when I literally struggled with that and really got to see what that life was about. So far as my struggle with the opposite sex, I grew up as the only granddaughter, niece, all of that until I was in my 20s. So I hung around nothing but boys. So I would say my struggle with that came at 16 when I was dancing on tour, and it came from both ends actually. The females around that time did not understand how I was 16 and on tour with this and that and 69 boys and all of that, and now I'm perceived as the biggest hoe, and for the guys, of course, as Tasty was saying, they step into that, that puberty where they feel like, they want to shoot their shot, and I'm open like that. So yeah, it was a mess. But that would be my answer for that. Was my struggle then.
That's real, dude. That's so real. And just being able to recognize, like, when you grow up and you consistently are exposed to only one side of things, and then you have this culture shock when you get into college or out of college, you really do have to reparent yourself through that. Because there are social skills and there are translations that are necessary to bridge gaps that we all have to just kind of adapt to on the spot. So
yeah,
that's dope shit. All right, y'all. So let's see. I believe it is time for us to now go over our conversation guidances so that we can have a safe discussion over how do we leverage the strengths of both Black men and Black women so that we can really see one another, really support one another, and not just use, but utilize and see the difference in that. So we'll go over these real quick so we can dive in. This is a good time while I'm going over this, for those who have already heard this before, especially, to be writing down or DMing me any questions about how do we leverage our strengths as Black men and Black women towards one another to support one another? How do we empower our growth points? Some people might say, how do we support one another's weaknesses? But I don't like that language, and words have power. So how do we empower one another's growth points? We're also going to be talking about co-commitment versus codependency in Black relationships. And if you have any questions surrounding any of those topics, definitely send me a private DM. And then once we're done going over the guidances, I will just basically pull a question. And then if you have a response you'd like to add for that question, either put it in the chat box that you'd like to speak, or type out your response. Raise your hand through one of the buttons on Zoom, or just put an emoji up and I'll just select you and ask you if you had something to share. Okay. And we'll keep our answers concise, meaning to say just enough. Don't make yourself feel rushed, but also don't tell us your whole life soliloquy. Fair? All right. So in our Conscious Conversation Melanated Edition Sacred Space, we are bigger than our ego, meaning that our ego leads our body. Our intuition, however, guides our energy. And this is an intuitive conversation. So be mindful of your energy. Be mindful of listening to your gut, sacral instincts rather than your ego and its fear-based leadership. Take care of yourself is our next bullet. Making sure to self-regulate, to self-soothe, to ask questions and to take notes. If you need to get up and get water and turn your camera off, do whatever you need to for you. But that also still leads into, as much as possible, remaining present. So don't time travel to the past that hurt you while we're talking about something that reminds you of a memory you have. Or don't time travel to a predictable future you're displeased with because you're anxious that what happened in the past will recur again. Remain present, meaning we're creating something we've never seen before in this conversation. So be diligent about that. Share the speaking space. So for those of us who are super extroverted, let's be brave enough to hold space and to listen for someone else to share. For those who are introverted, let's be bold enough to say just enough to express and articulate what we're comfortable with. And then tap in when you're ready to share. This is what we do in person for those who are going to definitely join us at our next in-person conscious conversations. But typically, instead of asking people to raise their hand, as if we're not all grown, we do a gesture called tapping in, which is just activating your heart chakra, tapping in as a gesture in the circle of the tribe, so that even if I myself, as the facilitator, don't see you, someone else in the tribe definitely will. And they'll call me in and say, hey, Rah, you missed Gia over there. She has something that she wanted to say. And then I can make sure to call you in so that you get to share your piece too. But for today, you'll just either hit the raise your hand emoji, hit the like button, or drop a comment in the chat. Then we want to listen actively. Listening actively, it's a short statement, but for most of us, it's harder than it sounds. We so easily get distracted. The average person loses track of their attention on something 6 to 7 times per minute. So even in this list of instructions right now, you've probably thought of what you're going to eat after, what you need to do early tomorrow morning. So listen actively means you have one job during this conversation over the next 55 minutes, which is to be curious about new perspectives and allow that curiosity to keep you redirected away from judgment and to keep you grounded in what's being said in the here and now moment. We're also going to speak our truth without identifying so strongly with the past that we stay there. We're going to speak on our experiences and address how we felt. We're going to call one another in and never out, because we come from a culture that calling one another in or calling one another out per se, roasting one another, all of that is, proud truth telling. But there's a way of being radically honest versus a way of being brutally honest. And so when we call one another in, we want to be mindful that if you feel defensive during our conversation, address yourself before addressing anybody else. That way you check in with you over, where is this even defensiveness coming from? Like, what is this about? And when you do address it, use I language to express the feelings that come up that someone else might have, influenced by what they shared. It's never a you. There's not room for that in here. We're too big for that. We're too conscious for that. But if you do want to share something that made you feel a type of way, it's also a safe space to do that with respect and with love. So we also want to be kind, of course. We are each other's mirrors. And that was something that we were even talking about in today's conversation already. Jason was talking about it right there. We are open to seeing one another. So be conscious of how you speak to your reflection and how you speak with one another. And then last but not least, remember you are loved. Remember you are loved. So we often speak from places of, it's just me. It's always going to just be me. I'm on my own in this. However, you are a part of the we in this conversation, a part of the we in this Black community. And no matter what, you are loved. And we want you to never forget this. So these are our conscious guidances. And I really would love to take a moment. Give me a brief moment to look up if there are questions that we can get started with. And the first question I'll just start off with is, based off of our topics at hand, if we're talking about leveraging our collective strengths as Black people, how do we get out of feeling used by one another? Like, if you have had an experience with the opposite sex or with other genders, just being inclusive in that mindset, how do we get out of feeling like we're being targeted, stereotyped, or used by one another's, so that we can actually start to utilize one another's strengths? That'll be our first question. So let me know if you'd like to share. Come on.
I most definitely would.
Come on.
You want to start, Gia?
No, I'll let you go, baby.
Go ahead, Tasty.
Okay. Well, I feel like I was most definitely heavily in a victim mindset when it comes to like overgiving and trying to blame mofos for my choices of overgiving. And I'm someone who don't like to like be in pain or sit with pain. And so I do my best to like find a perspective that eases the pain, if that makes sense. And so one of the things that I've learned to not feel used is before I give or do something, I ask myself, like, if there's a chance that I won't receive this back from this person, will I be okay with that?
Yeah.
You know, and also just challenging myself to come from an abundant mindset. Like every energy that I put out there, I'm going to receive it back. It may not be from that person, you know? And so if I can't give kindly from my heart, just freely, kindly, without wanting any strings or expectations, I ain't gonna do that shit, period. You know? So that's just like one of my things, just like, don't feel used. Like it's all with your like your mindset, and don't give with expectations of receiving it back. Like if you can't like afford to, just don't do it. Like, period.
Exactly.
Don't put yourself in that position.
Agreed.
Right.
That's real, Tasty. Well said. And Miss Gia, go ahead.
I like just even going what Tasty says, like my whole new journey is like I can have $1 million and somebody can ask me could they borrow 20. And if I don't feel like it's like I can afford the 20, it's more like, do I want to get this person that 20? And that's why I try to seek spirit to guide me to like, am I supposed to get this person that or whatever? Because just like recently stuff that I've been going through is just to I have based my whole life on like trying to set certain things, set certain goals. Like, let me do.
And I hit mute for Shay real quick. Go ahead, Miss Gia.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I basically try to set my, well, I have set my whole life was I want to do like give unto others as you would have them give unto you. And it's like, it's so hard because I've lived by that motto for so long, and it's like, it ain't working for me. It's not, you know. And so I'm like, I don't know what I need to do. Maybe somebody out there can help me, but it's like, I try to give, even like recently, I tried to let my spirit guide me to who I need to give to and bless and all that type of stuff. But it's still hard, like to give and not get, like, you know, I think I based my whole life on giving, and what you give, you receive, and I haven't received, or at least I feel like I haven't received. You know I've had blessings and all that type of stuff, but it's like, come on now, it's like I do too much to be going through the life that I go through. And that's one things that I don't share a lot with a lot of people, because I'm still trying to live according to, I don't know, maybe what society says or whatever. But I try to keep a positive, I try to keep, not saying that I'm a negative person, because love and joy and all that is within me, but that ain't working for me. Do that make sense? It's like, it's almost make you want to be like evil and bad, because the people, to me, I feel like that I feel is evil and bad is prospering. And it's like, I spend my whole life like giving and loving and giving and loving. And it's like, when is it my time?
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing for me. But anyway,
That's real, Miss Gia. You said some real
I'm just
and that's
it just get
relatable.
tiring. It just get tiring. It's like, when is it my time? So do I need to get evil in? I ain't gonna say evil. I'm gonna say evil because I'm learning. I'm learning that these people have are only what they are products of.
Mm,
And so it's like it's just hard to see somebody like me that is loving of people
mhm,
to, like, then I'm giving. And I used to be like, I don't give to receive, but everybody wants something reciprocated. That's just the truth. And that's the truth that I had to come to live with. You know what I'm saying? If I give love, yes, I want love back. You know what I'm saying? If I give this, I want that back if I need it. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
But when you're giving, and you're not getting anything back in return, it's like, and then you see these other people out here that's doing hellion stuff.
Yeah, heathen
And it's
things.
but the crazy thing is, like, one thing that T had to tell me is like, Mom, it might just be a facade. We have to realize what the reality is and what everything else is. It's like, it may seem like they're prospering, but they might not be.
And really, Miss
But
Gia,
it's
I gotta affirm you that all of what you're saying is so relatable, and your question is valid over when is it gonna be my turn? But I think if we grew up conditioned to people please and to give, especially in the role of women, we're meant to nurture, we're meant to offer, we're meant to provide. That's what we're conditioned to do, what we're
Mhm.
directed to do. Then when we start to get resentful over all the giving that we're doing, we have to make the mindset shift to, I have to prioritize. I have to pivot to prioritizing giving to myself, because
Right,
I am just going to
right,
continue to be resentful
right,
towards others
right,
because
right.
I'm not getting all the goodness that I'm offering out. I ain't getting high on my own supply.
Exactly. Right,
And
right, right,
so
right.
your time is as early as immediate as you want to start investing in giving to you, because that immediately
Exactly.
will start to scare off the people who were trying to use you, because
Right,
now you ain't got the time to delegate to them about what they
right,
need when you're taking care of yours. And then you'll
right,
attract more people who just want to add to that. Like hearing
right.
you feel this
And
way, it just make me want to give to you.
right. But then it's funny you say that because, like, I mean, this is just something that just happened like in the last day or two.
Oh yeah,
Cause
you
I've
hot
been
about it.
saying,
You still fresh.
right, right. That's what I told I told T, I'm like, but I'm what you just said gives me affirmation because, I told her, like, no, I am not finna, I'm going to take care of me, do what I need to do for me. You know what I'm saying? Instead of allowing, because what the thing is, I don't blame them because this is where I'm at in my life. I don't blame them. I take full acceptance because I allow it. So now I'm not allowing no more. I ain't
Yeah.
got time for it. None of that no more. But yeah,
That's real,
yeah.
Miss
So
Gina. That's real.
mhm.
Well, we here for it. We here for the honesty and the vulnerability. Tasty, did you want to add something to what Miss Gia said? And then Shay.
Yeah, I really wanted to bounce off what you were saying, Rob, because like also I'm giving you a big hug, Mama Gia. I feel like, that's what I was going through that, caused me to take this leap of faith to Texas, because like I was addicted to overgiving. And it's like the people around me, like it was so hard for me to say no. Like I would literally just give my last, like this person can't afford their rent, like here you go, and it just got really detrimental to me, so I was like, okay, it's time for me to get away from these drugs. Like I can't keep myself in the environment of the things that I'm addicted to. Like that's just not healthy for me. And I did not know how to say no to the people I love. So I took the leap of faith to Texas, and kind of like what Rob was saying, like when that resentment comes, like when you start noticing you no longer, like, cause I know when you're a natural giver, you love giving to people. You love feeling like home. You love cooking for people, like you love doing for people. But when it gets to the point of you're neglecting yourself, like that's when the anger, the impatience, the resentment, all that shit come up because it's like you're doing it from a place of neglect. And so like what I've been noticing is that more people are starting to give to me and starting to like recognize me once I started giving to myself. Like that's literally it. Like, and sometimes you think it's gonna take a couple of months, but I can say I'm on year 2. Like I'm still like I'm so serious. It's been so hard because I like, for me, especially for certain friends who were really taxing on my energy, you know, I communicated with them like, hey, I'm like really depleted. Like I don't have any more energy left. I really need to be here for myself. I'll be back as soon as I can. I thought it would be a year. Thought I'll be back in a year. Well, year 2, I still don't have energy to be around those people, you know, and luckily they understand, but even if they don't, it don't matter. It just doesn't matter. So many people like who loves you, and like you're starting to see that already. Like you're starting to be aligned with other good people, and I do believe on a surface level that it looks like, you know, certain people are winning because they're selfish, but I don't think they really win it because they don't have genuine connection. Like I genuinely feel like if money had no value and we just had to lean on the connections that we were built, them motherfuckers would be asked the fuck out. Like,
Right.
But because of your heart, Mama G, ain't nobody gonna let you go without, like, at all. Nobody.
No, not
like
at
if
all.
money had no value, yeah, we all gonna come and ride for Mama Gia. Like
without question.
I love y'all.
We love you too. We love you too. All right, Miss Shay, what you got?
All right. So taking from Gia and what Tasty said, I think for me, what I've learned is I'm a giver as well, naturally. However, I just learned when you give so much that you have nothing to give yourself, that's when you need to really become in tune with just giving to you. And if you are to give your energy out, you know, you want to give into people and things that kind of replenishes you.
Yeah.
Because I've been feeling just drained because I'm everything that everybody needs. I'm there on, you know, the drop of a dime. And then I'm just like, what am I giving to myself?
Yeah.
My cup is constantly getting depleted, yet I'm overcompensated by being everything that everybody else needs, but except for what I need. So I truly had to learn that, to just give to me first and keep putting good energy out, and it will be replenished. You can't say when, you can't say how, but just trust that it will be replenished once you give it out.
Absolutely. And that, what you're speaking to, Shay, is surrender. And that's something that most of us really struggle with, is surrender, submission over, I don't see how, but I know and trust in the what. And I don't have to understand the how to know that the what will be taken care of. It's already done. It's already complete. And that once you get to that point of trust, it really does create a certain level of easefulness. It doesn't make things easy, but it makes things easeful. And I think also speaking to a trend of the overgiving and the overcompensating, it's wild how we want to give, but anything out of balance becomes toxic, right? So this giving, this beautiful thing that we love to offer, can become a toxic, resentful, festering thing without being kept in alignment with, are we making sure we're pouring into ourselves? Because we are community-based creatures, but ourself is a part of the whole. It doesn't need to be excluded from that giving, right? So y'all are just making some really excellent points. Anybody else want to hop on this topic specifically?
I can.
Come on, TA.
Like, I guess I also was raised to be a people pleaser. So a lot of the times it was more so extreme to another extreme. So it was just like, it was either I'm overgiving, and then it's like, okay, well, fuck it. I resent everything I done gave.
Yeah.
I'm not giving at all. And it's just like, I pull back, and then it's like, what's wrong with you? You was giving before, we're not giving now. I feel, what do you call it? what I was about to say, when Mr. Brown manipulated it.
Manipulated it.
But it's just like, yeah, there's so many points I want to make. I wish I would have wrote it down, because when everybody was talking, I was like, yeah, that's what I. But of its entirety, I have not found my balance with that, or my surrender with what do you call it, overgiving, or really letting go. Like, shit, I had to let go a lot of people this year.
Yeah.
Off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the dope shit though, like, because balance is the name of everything. Really, things are simple, y'all. Like, we as people, as soon as ego gets involved, we complicate it and complex it up. It's not complicated. And the simplicity of it is that sometimes you'll have to cut people off because the balance is just off. And as soon as you get balanced in you, it seems like life brings certain people back around, and they've had time to mature and you've had time to mature, and you can appreciate each other differently. But at the time, the cutting off, it seems so cruel. It seems so abrasive. It seems so immediate. But if the balance is off, the priority really has to be in restoring balance to self, so that I can now restore balance in the relationship. Because if we're prioritizing external relationships before prioritizing ourselves and our own harmony and balance, then how are we going to be balanced in the relationship? How am I going to steady you when I'm unsteady? Like, the math ain't mathing. So just
And then
being
it's
mindful of that.
right. And then just coming back to, I had a lot of moments of accountability. Well, nigga, if you just give what you get, then I mean, if you like, I had to learn to just, I don't know if it's bad or good. I just give what I get. And then if I feel like giving more, I give more. But of its entirety, I just been like, not so much meeting the same energy. It's just like, I know if I go above and beyond, and I'm not, and if okay, let's say if I go above and beyond for a person, and then I do it, and then I step back. What's this person gonna do? And then if they do nothing, and it's like, okay, I'm stepping all the way back, and now I'm going to give you what you give me.
Mm-hmm.
That way, so I don't feel depleted.
Mm-hmm.
But of its entirety, coming back to accountability with myself and setting those boundaries with myself, and like I said, still finding the balance. But of its entirety, it's like, and even like you were saying, like the whole connection part, like maybe it's not balanced now with connections, or maybe be balanced later on. But I'm kind of, like I said, I'm a person of one extreme to another in this journey, where it's like, oh no, I don't see this person being in my life anymore. It just is what it is, because I can't see them any different.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's real, TA. Yeah. And just really, it's our defense mechanism. It's our way of protecting ourselves. It's like, I felt the burn and I see potential additional burn to come with you based off what you've given me so far. So I'm going to be proactive over what I extend, because I think I know what to expect from you, right? So that's very relatable. Anybody else want to respond to this part of the conversation?
Ego is very tricky. It's a tricky mechanism. The reason why I say that is because the ego is here to protect us from feeling pain, guilt, sorrow, and that's the part that tricks, especially if you're nice. Because being nice is such it's a gift and a curse. It's I can relate to. I don't know if others can relate to, but I can only speak for myself. You know, being nice can be a gift and a curse. That doesn't mean that you're supposed to be mean, but what it is supposed to make you understand that is whenever you have ego that's trying to stop you from seeing the truth of what you need to do when it comes to not giving your cup to the point where you're being empty. You know how you say, full, you keep that. Really, initially, your cup should be overflowing. That way, the overflow, you should give that. That way, your cup is full. You feel me? But at the same time, it's tough whenever you have a loving spirit and you have a genuine soul and you want to see others, you know, be happy, be prosperous, be abundant. And that's the part that's tough. But here's the thing. God always is gonna put situations in our past, in our present, to help us to understand that you have to pour into yourself first. Yeah. Because you love yourself genuinely and wholeheartedly, and you grow yourself from the inside, to that way it can manifest to the outside to others. Your cup will always be full because you'll know your limits. Because you'll know whenever you're coming across energy vampires. Energy vampires, they always it's amazing how they come out of nowhere and they can talk to you, look in the eyes to the point where you can't even look away because they see your soul. They so much where you're like, hold on, wait a minute, I can't even look away, but it's because they feel your energy and they all they want to do is take. That's the part, just from my experience, I learned that you have to learn how to pull away and say no. Sometimes saying no is a lot more powerful. And once you put that out, that's when you start to learn that you can turn to a higher road. Keep in mind, I'm the type too. Ever since I was in high school, I used to give. Especially being a hopeless romantic too. So hopeless romantic.
Don't even bring romance into it.
That's totally different from you just meet somebody on the daily, and it's like, dang, I'm trying to help this person out too. So combine them forces and put them into you trying to offset yourself from being authentic and then being in the ego format whenever you don't want to hurt you. That's a very tough thing, but at the same time, the universe is always gonna hit you on the wrist every single time until you finally surrender yourself. You're gonna experience that pain, but that pain is there to help you grow strength within yourself. That way you can truly, genuinely love yourself. And I feel like whenever you do that, that's when you start to attract like-minded people, and those energies start to deplete because of the fact that you start to find yourself more. But no one's perfect. I mean, that is a lifetime worth of grind.
Yeah.
Patience. That's why the saying patience versus slept on skills. That's a real thing, because you have to constantly work on yourself constantly. Because the more wisdom that you attain, the more pain that you may experience because of that wisdom. But it's only because of the fact that it's trying to let you know that you go wrong. So now it's time to continue to keep growing yourself the way you can help others, and they don't be like,
Well said, Jason. That's real. And it really is. It's very uncomfortable, but whoever lied and said life was supposed to be comfortable was doing just that, lying. You're meant to be expanding, and expanding is exhilarating, it's activating, it's exciting. Comfortable is not the word I would use for it, though. Hassani, get on in there. What you want to add?
So one of the things that the brother was saying about giving all the time, and it's kind of like you are emptying yourself out. I wanted to piggyback on that because one of the things that I learned in my journey is especially if we're dealing with the Black community, or what we might call the Black community. Marcus Garvey. So when we look to other examples of us coming together and us unifying, the main thing that I would say is it is possible for us to do it. It is possible for us to lean on each other. It is possible for us to build on each other, because there's been countless examples, even in this country, let alone outside. And I remember reading something when I think I was in high school, and Marcus Garvey said that our people are sick. And because our people are sick, we have to be empathetic, right? I'm summarizing, but in a nutshell, that's what he said. When I read that about him, that made me feel like, okay, I could do this, And so I say that because if we're finding ways to give for the betterment of others and to uplift for the collective, I guess you could say, one of the things that I've realized is we have to be committed to the bigger picture, but then also understand that also have a heart to be able to forgive, because we're dealing with people that are sick.
Yes.
Now, just because they're sick doesn't mean I have to be infected by the sickness.
Talk about it.
Jason's point. Well, it's Jason, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just because they're sick doesn't mean I have to be infected by the sickness, because I can love you from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of that boundary thing that I was talking about that I had to learn myself. Good, bad, and indifferent, because some of the boundaries, even though I crossed them, it was good. But my point is, but my point is that we have that ability we have that ability to be able to do so because there's already been examples. And when we understand that because, you know, even to some of the women in here that dealt with, you know, the men that, you know, they felt like they weren't dealt with properly, I'm never going to give an excuse for them, but there are men that could replace them and be at a better I don't know what you would call it. There you go. Whatever you would call it. There are people that that can replace them and be a better fit. And we just got to give them something so they can grow. Create. And one of the things that I think is important for us as a community is number one, committing to the grand picture. Number two, understanding that we're dealing with people that are sick and traumatized. And then number three, be willing to build things in the community to reflect our train of thought so that people who aren't awakened could be healed, right? Yeah. Whether that's you building safe environments like this, whether it's us building physical structures so that it's repetitive, that people see and interact with, in any one of those, I think is very, very important.
Well said. Completely agree. And the empathy with also what it's called is loving detachment, right? I can love you, but that does not mean I have to be attached to you. That doesn't mean that we have to be crabs in a bucket or a barrel and pull one another down. I can still obtain a boundary because of my self-awareness, my self-actualization. And that's the thing that I think people get conflicted about with unconditional love. Unconditional love doesn't mean that I see you and spend time with you. Unconditional love means I love you outside of whether you please me or you don't please me. I love you not based off of what you can offer me. My love for you is not me having to worry about you stealing something from me or taking something from me, because I am love. You can't take something that I am. However, it does mean that you might not get to know my physical presence because you are not a good fit for that. Like you're saying, it's not cohesive, it's not coherent, it's not authentic when we engage. So just really relate to the unconditional, conditional, and also empathizing without allowing yourself to be contaminated. Yeah. Tasty.
So I really appreciate what Hassani was saying. And I also appreciate that this is a conversation about us Black people, because we need this. Because we as a collective of people are in debt. Like we're just in debt. Like we're in a hole, like as a whole, like we are in a hole. And it's like, you really have to keep yourself in check to not be like super, super selfish, because even though we're all kind of like in a hole, like, and we're climbing out, like it's okay actually to like help someone up, you know, especially if they want to be helped too. So I kind of wanted to like bounce off what he was saying, especially when it was talking about like just being committed to the bigger picture. And I feel like when I had that experience at the PWI, that's when I learned to like really, really love my people. Like I just had an ultimate amount of compassion for my people, you know, like ultimate. It doesn't matter if they're coming off as like ghetto or hood or like they cursing people out or they're angry, you know, because it's like when you really look at what we've been through as a people, like what's been passed down to us, I don't blame them. I don't blame anyone for how they may react or respond to all the trauma that's within us, especially like from our ancestors that has not been resolved. And it's like the people who like caused it or whatever, like they're not going to resolve it. It's up to us to resolve it, you know? And so it's like the only way we're going to be able to resolve it is if we see a bigger picture, and we do so through love and compassion. So being committed to the bigger picture and not just looking at what we receive is really important. And so like where I'm at now, I'm very grateful. I'm extremely grateful. Like even when he was talking about like men, like I just don't take shit personal anymore, because I'm never going to allow for someone's actions to cause for me to not be who I naturally am. Like who I'm committed to be is my duty, it's my responsibility. And if I feel like someone is threatening me being who I am, then they no longer can be in my space. It's really just as simple as that. But I don't want to be like niggas ain't shit or bitches ain't shit. You know, I want to highlight all the beautiful things that are in our people and like put a lot of love and attention to those things with hopes that like it may encourage other people to change. I don't want to be like, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you should change, and blah, this and blah, that. I want to focus on the things that you're doing right. And the people who come to me like, hey, what can I do right? Or how you feel about that? Then I'll speak to them, you know, but ultimately I don't want to condemn anyone. I don't feel like it's proactive. You know, I feel like some people may be like, ooh, I want that love and attention. But I see that they're only like giving all of that attention to someone who's at this particular caliber. So I need to change to transform. Like God gonna speak that to them. I need to change to transform if I really want to get that caliber of love and attention. You know, I really do feel like if they're in tune with their spirit, then they're going to go through their transformations. That's not my job. And I refuse to take it on as my job or my responsibility. So
because we've evolved from that people pleasing stage in life. We're not taking those projects.
Finally.
We don't need that role. And this is dope shit. Like, finally, amen, we finally arrived. Getting to a point where that's not how we validate our worthiness based off how much we're giving to someone else. Now, our ability to give is something that is a beautiful feature, and it's a natural component. Our natural state of being is joy. Our natural state of being is giving, but not to a point where that's how we're validating ourselves. We are innately worthy. We are innately creators. And this is meant to be a conversation between friends, a co-creation. And when you see that your energy is not being matched, it's not for me to shit on you because you're not able to match the energy, but it is for me to be mindful of and to hold my vibration, hold my frequency where it is, and to invite you to level up. And when you do, we'll see if we can co-create at that point. We might still not be compatible to do it, but I'll still see you as someone who did the work to raise that vibration, right? And we're just trying to, in these conversations, hold ourselves accountable to getting balanced and aligned ourselves so that we hold the space for other people to see us as walking examples of that expanded, aligned consciousness. And at first they're gonna hate on it because they don't see how they are able to relate to it and get to it. But then when they are able to, we're all a lot stronger for it. So even what Hassani was talking about and what you've been talking about, Tasty, that leads me in our last 20 minutes to ask the question about empowering one another's growth points. A lot of us will say in our culture, like, I'm not trying to raise no grown person, right? But we all know that everybody needs reparenting. We're still reparenting ourselves, so we understand that other people are going to need that reparenting too, right? So when we're talking about empowering one another's growth points, how can we approach it where we don't feel like, damn, I ain't your mama, damn, I'm not your daddy, I'm not trying to heal or fix your mama or daddy wounds, but I do recognize we're always here to have this conversation between friends to support each other. How can we do that without feeling like we're raising an adult? Hassani, go ahead.
I think it's going back to the boundary things, and I'm saying this a lot because I learned it from you. Talking about the boundary things again, where, so for example, I had a friend earlier where we both experienced a not so positive experience, and we talked about it. And what made me be aware is the brother who committed suicide earlier this week, the dancer brother that committed suicide. You said Stitch? Twitch. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. No worries. So, rest in peace to that brother and more importantly, prayers to his family. But what they said was, that men are less likely to speak about situations and more likely to hold them. And what I found is that sometimes when you're able to talk and you're able to relate, it gives people space to feel comfortable talking more about what's going on, right? And setting rules up front, like, hey, Tommy, we could talk, but here's the deal. When we talk, let me know if you just want me to hear you where you want to vent, or let me know if you want solutions. But here's the deal, though. If you want solutions, we have to act on it. You can't come back. Right? Setting those kind of rules up front. And I know that might be a little bit more aggressive on my end, but that's okay. I was about to say, because that's just how I roll with some of my friends. You know, hey, it's all good if you want to let some steam off. That's cool, but we can't revisit this. Now, on the flip side, I give them tools as well. Here's what I did when I went through that so that I didn't have to revisit it. Or if I backslid, here's what I went through. right? And then I'm able to say, yo, I'm backsliding. So now that creates another conversation versus someone just complaining, saying, you know, woo, woo, woo. So creating that openness where it's like, Rah, we could talk. Let me know if you're going through something. Let me know if you're all right. And here's the best one. Don't come around. This is just my take. And again, it might be a little aggressive. If you come around me and you have an attitude, and I ask you what's wrong, and you say nothing, I say, okay, here's how I prefer to deal with that. And again, this might be a little aggressive, me pushing myself on someone else. If you're around me, you have an attitude and you don't want to talk about it, I'd rather you say that. Mm-hmm. But if you don't want to talk about it, then you also can't project that attitude to mess up the environment, right? So that's the trade-off. If you don't want to talk about it, fine, I'll respect your space, but you also got to respect mine. And that means don't project your bullshit in the air. Yeah. Right. And that's just, I think setting those kind of boundaries and feeling comfortable, let people know, here's how we could communicate. Here's how we could work. And then we're able to tell each other, oh, well, hold on, brother, that don't work for me.
You know, up front though, we can talk about it proactively.
100%. Right. I let people know that. And that's one of the things that I've seen that's worked in some of the circles I've been in. We've been able to tell each other how we give and how we receive information. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. So that we even understand that even if someone talks and it sounds foul from the outside, because we had to talk already, I understand where you're coming from. So I don't take it that way.
Yes. You know? Yeah. So, and we've created certain boundaries or levels of communication that I know what you mean when you say that. I know where you're coming from. I'm not assuming the worst about you. Correct. And that's really a huge point too, how often when we're having those very real, raw conversations that are uncomfortable, we can't be going into it assuming the worst about each other. Like it's already uncomfortable of a conversation as is. I have to give you grace and the benefit of the doubt that you are just trying to navigate and understand how we can come to the greatest good for all in this conversation too. I can't be looking for how you trying to play me, how you trying to manipulate, how you trying to hold me. Now, be mindful, be aware, you know, check in with my intuition, with my gut, but let that ego rest and really go into it like, okay, if I hear something and it hits me wrong, let me ask a clarifying question. Don't let me just build off and pop off, you know? So yeah, good shit, man. How about others of you about empowering one another's growth points and it not feeling like we're having to raise one another?
I think that's the hardest thing. I guess I don't know how to read the opposite sex. Because I tried to be that supportive role and I don't know like what I'm doing wrong, you know what I'm saying? And it might just be the choice of the men that I come across, my choices, you know, and that might be and that's where I'm at right now, working on that aspect. But like I've tried to be like back off when I feel like I need to back off, be supportive when I need to be supportive. And it has not worked. It's like, I don't, and you know, I had went through a phase where I'm like, okay, what is wrong with me? But then I had to realize that there's nothing wrong with me. It's just, you know, and I'm still doing work on me. And not saying that is them either. It's just my choices. I have to learn to make better choices.
Girl, the level of growth just rippling through you the past couple months and years, Miss Gia, it's delightful. And that's the thing. It always comes back to us. That's why self-love is so important, because we'll be over here complaining about what we're receiving from somebody else because we're lacking on what we're giving ourselves. So when you become aware of, okay, I need to do this work, I need to become cognizant of this within myself, then it gives us a lot more empathy towards other people, because we know what's gone into us trying to make ourselves coherent and balanced and congruent. But it also just helps us be a lot more insightful for the company we keep, like this conscious company.
True. Right. And that's where I'm at right now, trying to build a healthy relationship between men and women, between our Black community, you know, just trying to heal, you know, and it's not all about relationship is not all about sexual. It's about us coming together and getting to understand one another, because like I feel like I'm stuck on the times when my grandparents, I don't know if it's just TV that I watched or whatever, but I've always been that person that I wanted to build a community where we can go down the street and check on Miss Johnson and take her food, and then Miss Susie over there that got 7 kids and she's, you know, her and her family struggling, instead of talking about them, you know, helping them. You know, that's the community that I've always tried to build. And so I, in my lack of, like I said, things I've been working on, of the male role model in my life. And that's where a lot of people, a lot of women need to really focus on, you know, because we have support and loved on men in our family that may have not, I love them, but that don't mean that they were right. You know what I'm saying? And I don't get mad at them and I'm not angry at them, because they are everything that they are. You know what I'm saying? They have to do their work. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is just really forgiving them and doing my work, you know, but just like I said, building a community. I want the bond between Black women, Black men, Black families, Black communities to build and be stronger, because that's what we're going to need to move forward in this life.
You ain't
Can we,
lying.
can we speak to Miss Gia?
Of course you can.
All right. I just want to say this, sister, that from the way you're speaking now, I would never assume that the problem is you in anything that you do when it comes to male relationships. What I would say is sometimes our love and our earnestness becomes overwhelming. And in a lot of situations, sometimes the person who's in the, for lack of better terms, weaker state doesn't know how to receive. And so the easiest thing for them to do, especially from a man's standpoint, the easiest thing to do is to walk away or to reject, right? Because as a man, you know, you're in a weak state, and sometimes folks, you know, the love could be overbearing. For example, and I'll give you a great story behind this. In my older age, in my down moments, I despise somebody coming and patting me on my back and telling me it's going to be okay. Don't do that to me, right? I can't stand that. Talk to me about where we going and what we could do, and that'll help me move out of my situation, right? But don't tell me it'll be okay. I don't know why that is, but that's just that's just a thing. So I would say for you, Ms. Gia, is again going back to that relationship thing, asking them, how could I support you up front before it gets bad? Because when you have too much self-awareness. You know, I'm listening to you. You have the self-awareness to where you know how to adjust once you get the information. You just got to ask them up front.
Right. And this is just current. This was not this. I'm like past. This is just within my growth, and I really appreciate, because this is the purpose of us having this thing, because I want women and men to be able to understand and to be able to relate to one another. You know, this is something, what you're saying, I do appreciate that, you know, but where I'm at right now is that wasn't where I was at 20 years ago or 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And so this is something that I just recently like learned. So yes, I appreciate everything.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And a book called Love and Respect will help out if anybody wants to look it up.
Love and Respect. Put it
All
in
right.
the chat.
Okay.
Put it in the chat. Yeah. Put any resources, put any things that you think would like elevate people's like consciousness, mindset. Put those resources in the chat. And we are in our last 8 minutes. So Tasty, I want to let you go, and then we will kind of do a closing together.
Okay. So And I also think Tommy may need to say something as well. Tommy, would you like to go first since you haven't really said anything?
Daddy, you want to go real quick?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tasty. We ideally, for men to take the lead and kind of direct this growth process that we're all experiencing, or at least the folks that are on this call, especially, we're all trying to grow. We're all trying to be our better and best self. Ideally, for men to do that, but I mean, too much of our history shows that it's the matriarch that leads the way for Black communities, for Black families. And my suggestion or my offer to you is, as Black women, don't let anything or anyone hold up your growth. And you think, well, if I'm growing and they're not growing, but see, you're going to raise the children. You're going to teach the young Black men the proper way of being able to live their life to the best. But that only can happen when you know it for yourself. And then from that generation of men can rise up and do better. And also don't lose hope, because there are still men out here who recognize that they haven't, I mean, been the example, been the lead, been what they need to be for our Black women. And I mean, and they want to do better. Sometimes it's just, I mean, you connecting with those. And that's where meetings like this, groups like this, gives us the opportunity to share heart. But in essence, those of us on this call aren't the problem. I mean, we're not perfect. We're trying to get better, but we're not necessarily the problem. And so that's why opportunities like this and inviting others to them so that they can, I mean, receive this kind of insight is very important.
Absolutely. Well said, Daddy.
Yes. Well said.
Yeah. Tasty, get on in there.
Yes, so I'm gonna be quick, but I shaded what you were saying, Tommy, and also with you, Mama Gia. Okay, one of y'all muted though.
Yeah. Show right.
Okay, cool. But so like this is something I actually have to remind myself, Mama Gia, just about like planting a seed. Like I heard you say that it doesn't work, or what I'm doing is not working, and I'm just telling you that that's not even true. Like that's not true at all. Like sometimes it takes a minute for a seed to like sprout, like, and for it to bloom and for it to fruit. Like, but everything you've been doing is correct, you know, and like just see things as seeds, and it takes time. That's really just what it is. And as far as the question that Rah Kalon was asking, like, what can we do to where we're not feeling like we're raising other people? I feel like, you know, self-preservation is key. First and foremost, you have to know where you're at in your own journey, you know, to know like how much you can actually help someone. You know, like I never knew that I would be in the role of a guide. It wasn't until I started to really do my own healing work that like I became in like the role of a guide. But at one point I wasn't aware at all. You feel me? And so like one of the things that really helps me be able to assist others is just knowing how ignorant I used to be and how like stubborn I used to be. And if someone came to me with some bullshit, like trying to be all like just like mean, I guess, like I would not be receptive to that shit at all. Like, bitch, who you think you're talking to? Like, so like I see people as reflections. I like to like trust that people who fall into my path, like they're literally a reflection of like what I can become, or a reflection of a place where I used to be. And so if I'm being mean to them, that's like being mean to myself, you know, like, and like, I know I wouldn't grow. Like, I know I wouldn't grow. I know some people, like they can grow in hard and like meanness. That's not me. I'm sensitive as hell. I'm a sensitive person. I'm a very sensitive person. But also like, if you feel like you're not in that role of like a guide and you're doing your own work, like you're a beginner as well, give them resources, give them tools. Like, hey, I'm reading this book, you know, invite them to certain spaces, share podcasts with them, you know, because it's like, I feel like in the past where I went wrong is that I enabled a lot of people in my life. Like I tried to do the work for them, you know, and that was a huge ass burden on me. So yeah, I just feel like giving them tools, giving them resources, and just knowing that like we're planting seeds. And I also appreciated what Tommy was saying, that matriarch like leads to society, or will lead the way. I agree with that too. Like I feel like, you know, women, it's because we are naturally like in tune with our emotions that we are really, really strong creatures. And like, it may seem like we're getting a shorter end of the stick, but kind of like what Hassani was saying, being committed to the bigger picture, because like, we kind of need to hold space for our masculine energies, you know, and over time, like we're going to see that it's worth the investment. Like it's an investment. It's not it's not checkers, it's chess, it's a long game. And we just have to be committed to the bigger picture. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Tasty coming through with a wise word for the closing. Yes, it is all about the bigger picture. It's all about the mosaic of our culture. And being what I heard as a phrase yesterday from Deja Board, the owner of Deja Board Gallery, and that was definitely check that out, was being the custodians of our culture for one another and even for people outside of our culture. Just becoming conscious of how can what I have learned that took me time, that took me intention, that took me ease and grace and forgiveness to learn be something that I offer to someone else when they are receptive. Nobody likes like unsolicited advice. So being mindful of offering this to the people who are interested, who are receptive, those who are hungry for this knowledge, for this insight, it was given to you for a reason. And that's why we have these group discussions, because collectively what we know together is so much more powerful than what we know in silos and what we keep to ourselves. And any kind of fear over the spreading of this kind of wisdom so that everybody has what they need is just coming from a lack mindset, a mindset where there's not enough for everyone. And truthfully, with how diverse each of us are, even in our Black culture, there is plenty for each of us. If we actually learn who we are and what we truly want, and we stop tiptoeing and walking on eggshells in this world, there is plenty for each of us to step into and to really be a servant leader for our culture overall. So I want to thank you all for participating tonight. I want to give a huge shout out to I Love You Black Women. If you are not already following them, Tiaja, please put the information in the chat for anybody who's not familiar with this organization. They are brand spanking new this year, but have already been making great strides, hosting an event called We Can Put Our Swords Down Now in November. And also just big things coming for 2023. Because of hearing the consistent theme of these givers, these big-hearted givers, but also these trauma-bound givers, right? These wounded givers. I definitely want to extend an invite to an event that myself, as well as Essence, who's on the call, are hosting on January 1st. It's called This Is For You. And we have maybe 2 or 3 more slots still available, but we're hosting 15 people who want to step more into being in receptive mode in 2023. Those who are so used to giving that you are exhausted, maybe a little bitter, maybe a little resentful, and you're really needing to become comfortable letting other people pour into you. That's going to be taking place January 1st. It's a Sunday. We're going to be gathering at 6:30, doing some energy exercises, guided meditation, serving you a home-cooked meal, doing some release activities. And this is for men, women, but that's why I specifically want you to be mindful of getting to participate in that. So I will put the information following us on Instagram, DMing us at Rah Kalon, if you would like to be sent the private Facebook group link, just so that we can get you attending. And honestly, if you want to have more conversations like this, please put together like a recorded testimonial or a written testimonial and send it to me on Instagram, just so that I know that we're going to continue to push this out. Post it to your story, post it to your feed, tag us in it, tag Rah Kalon, so that we can get more voices into these conversations.
You muted.
You hit mute, babe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I was going to say, what happened?
What happened? In the chat box, I put the information for This Is For You. It'll be in Grand Prairie, Texas. Any offerings or donations that have been sent for tonight have been so deeply appreciated. Thank you for that exchange of energy. Anybody else who would like to donate or to send an offering for tonight or for the This Is For You event, whether you're going to plan to come and participate, because that's the event. It's completely, this is for you. It's free for everybody. We're just taking offerings and donations, but me and Essence just want to bless people. Please feel free to cash at Rah Kalon or to Zelle at rahkalon@gmail.com. But with that, we had an amazing 2 hours together, don't you think?
Yes, I appreciate everyone. Love you guys.
Love you.
y'all
That was a
so
fast
much.
2 hours. This was beautiful.
It
Right,
goes
it went by
fast with
so
conscious
fast,
conversation.
and I'm so appreciative to the men that came to this because
Thank y'all so much.
they are
Most
y'all
definitely.
are rare. Y'all are rare. So I appreciate you guys so much with the bottom of my heart.
Yes, that's all the more reason we need y'all's testimony. So other men realize, oh shit,
Yes.
I need to come to that next time. Like
Right.
we want this.
Yeah.
We want this, right?
Right,
Oh, yeah.
right.
Y'all make
Y'all
sure
teaching
to
us. Love you guys.
love each other, love y'all. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Love you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.